Let's now see how we can use the logical AND in TensorFlow. Before that, we'll look at how this would work. We have true and true. We get in the output we will get a true. If we have true and false, we will get output that is false. If we have several trues and just one false, we would get the output as false. And likewise, if we have false and false, if everything is false, we'll get a false. If there is a single, even if there is a single true, we would still get a false because we have a false in there. And so that's how the operations would work. We can now try and calculate the same true false element wise for tensors. If we have a tensor A that is equal to tf dot constant, and here we have a value of true, then if we have tensor B which is tf dot constant and this has value as false, we can now calculate z. So z is equal to tf dot math dot logical underscore and a comma b, and then if we print z dot numpy, we get the output that is false. And this would be similar to saying z is equal to a and b, and again when we print the value of z as z, we should see that the output is false, as we did before. Now in this case what we did was we calculate the tensor had just one value in it. What happens if we have more than values? So the it would work the same way. Let's say we have tensor B which has additional values in it, which we can type in here. Let's say we have true and then we have another value false, and if we now try to run this, what will happen is the values from this true value would be broadcasted to all the elements in B. So this would be equivalent of performing a logical AND operation with two tensors that look like this, except that we just have one value in tensor A. So when we run this, we would get the true and false is false, true and true is true, true and false is false. So we get false, true, false, and that's what we get here in the output. And same thing with this notation as well. In let's keep going further, and now what we'll do is in this particular let's undo this. I meant to copy it in the cell below. If we in the tensor A, we'll change the values again and we'll add a new set of values which is true, and we'll add true, true, true and false in front of it, true and false. Now when we run this, what we'll get is first would be false, second would be true, and the last one would again be false because we have two false values in there. Here there is an error. It says any and all. Let's try and use the ampersand instead of the letter and here, and run this. So this is the same output that we get in both the cases, true, false, and true. Now there is yet another one last option that I wanted to show, which is which has different dimensions. So if we have we'll keep the tensor A with two values, true and false. So I'm going to delete this value and then put this inside of square brackets. So we change the dimensions here, and again we have this case which is true, and then we have the second one that is false. Going to put square brackets around this and square brackets around this. Now what we can do is we can run this. So let's print this out first. Print a dot print a dot numpy, and then we can say print, and then again say print b dot numpy, and then we can print this again, and then we say tf dot math dot logical, and here we are ab, and we run this again. And in this case, the output what we would see is, create another empty line there, so we see this separated out, or empty line with or let's put some dots or hyphens. That's one. Then that's the second one. That's the third one. I run this again. If we look at these two arrays, what we have is true, false, and true and false. And so if we try to type these out, it would be true, and we have false, and then we have the second one that is true, and for the second tensor we have another value here which is false. If we try to so when we are comparing this to get the 2 by 2 tensor, this is what I'm thinking is happening. We have true. Let's put this in array, np dot array. So we have these two rows right here, and in the first one we have true and true. Then we have false, false and true, and then down below what we have is true and false, and then we have false and false. And so if we run this, what we get is true, false, 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 and that's where true, false, false, false. This is how the logical AND operation works in the TensorFlow math.